What's up guys, welcome back to another Record of Ragnarok video. Today we're going over all the gods and all the humans who will fight in the Ragnarok tournament. In particular, who they are and what can be assumed about them. If you enjoy this top tier manga, make sure to subscribe and consider joining the Discord to talk more about it with fellow fans. Now, let's go. So currently at the recording of this video, we're in round 5 of the tournament. So we've seen and pretty much known everything that can be known about 5 humans and 5 gods. Apart from that, we've seen up to 3 or 4 more of the gods that have been outside watching the other fights, involved with like the other scuffles throughout the story and everything like that. So I'll be going over the remaining gods first. I'll talk about the gods and I go into the humans. So the gods that we've already seen fight and that we know everything about include Thor, Zeus, Poseidon, Heracles, whatever you want to say it, Shiva, and then some gods that we've seen outside of the tournament that haven't had the official battle yet, but we've seen them in other scuffles and just been around watching the other fights, and then a few gods that we haven't seen whatsoever until most likely we'll see them when we get their battle. If you didn't know, for this image that goes everywhere that shows the pretty much 12 gods and then 13 humans, the only issue with that was a translation error which didn't include Heracles, which Heracles was meant to be included and he's always been part of the official list, so just assume that Heracles has been or has always been on that list, and that was just a translation issue. So the gods that are scheduled to fight that we've seen that we haven't seen fight yet include Loki, Buddha, Odin, and Bishay Moten. Probably butchered that guy's name, but whatever it is. He's pretty much the leader or considered the strongest and leading member of the 7 lucky gods, the executions that pretty much were involved in the Team Buddha versus Loki struggle that concluded last chapter. So now onto the gods I'll talk more detail about that we haven't seen whatsoever and who they are and everything about them that we can be assumed and just general knowledge about them. So first up, I'll talk about Apollo. So he's from Greek mythology and considered the son of Zeus. He's also considered the god of healing, medicine, archery, music, and poetry, and in some cases can be considered the god of the sun. This can also be expanded to being the god of art and various other things, having or being considered the god of multiple things. Most likely based on the mythology, the weapon that he'll be using will be a bow and arrow and have various other elements to him, such as, you know, this power of the sun or various other cool things about him. So that's everything about Apollo that is pretty much common knowledge or is part of the mythology and will most likely make up the Apollo we see in Record of Ragnarok. But we also need to consider that he'll be more Chad in this Chad tier manga. So up next we have the god known as Susanoo. Susanoo comes from Japanese mythology and is considered the god of sea and storms, and as we all know also makes an appearance in Naruto as, you know, one of the main abilities of the Uchiha clan. In the mythology he's also the younger brother of the sun goddess known as Amaterasu and the pretty much son of Izanagi and various other stuff that's shown in Naruto, but for now context that will be shown in Symmetra no Valkyrie. Most likely the power of storms we'll see, because we've had the sea god Poseidon, that element to it, so most likely in this we'll have elements of the storm, so maybe lightning elements to it as well and other cool stuff around that range, which will be very cool to see. Up next we have Anubis, who comes from ancient Egyptian mythology and can also be considered the god of the dead or the god of the afterlife, just depends how you look at it, but that's the main base of it. He's also considered one of the strongest, if not top 3 strongest ancient Egyptian gods as well in the basis of the mythology, which is cool to see. So the power of the dead, power of darkness, other cool elements, that being able to kill people will be very interesting to see how they'll handle this for Record of Ragnarok and what path they'll take. I assume they'll most likely go down the path of god of the dead instead of god of pretty much the afterlife or anything like that. So god of the dead will most likely be the path, or what I think. Let me know down in the comments what you think for all these gods as well, what they will be shown for in Record of Ragnarok and how they'll be shown. And then the last god that has been shown on the list that we haven't seen so far goes by the name of Beelzebub. Maybe butchered that, I don't know how to say that. Beelzebub, that's my assumption on how to say it. He is a very interesting, pretty much god or demon, maybe? Demon that was introduced into the list of gods to be fighting in the Ragnarok tournament, which I didn't really expect, and I had to probably do the most research for this video about this god because I didn't really know anything about it before doing the research for today's video, so it was very interesting to find out a lot of stuff about it. And another major thing to note about it is that there's many variations of who this god is. It's considered one of the 7 devils in many mythologies and religions and other aspects of that. It's considered pretty much a devil from Palestine, or from a Palestine god and other elements like that. It's also considered the Lord of Flies or the God of Flies in many other elements, and it's also considered the deadly sin of pride in other elements as well, which is a large variety of stuff that this god in the Record of Ragnarok could actually be. But if my prediction and what I'm going to think now, let me know down in the comments what you think. I think it's going to be the God of Flies, or the god actually is going to be a fly, because that's the most common attribute or element that this god is shown in, and will be pretty interesting and extremely unique to see a god of flies fighting in a tournament such as this. This will just be crazy to see, and it's good to note it's not really considered a god, it's more considered a devil or a demon, which we have seen demons throughout the Ragnarok story, such as the serpent who Adam killed, then another one who Thor killed when he was introduced. So we have seen demons, so this may be the lead demon that we get to see, or one of the main demons we get to see in the story, which may lead to possibly arcs later on in the story, which would be very interesting to think about. So that's all the gods that haven't been revealed, and the gods that have been revealed, and what's pretty much known about them, or the mythology, what's said about them, everything. Now I'll go on to the humans. So the humans that we've seen fight thus far in the Ragnarok tournament include Lubu, Adam, Sasaki, Kodro, Jack the Ripper, and Raiden. And then the gods, or I mean humans, that we've seen throughout the story but we haven't actually seen them fight yet include Ukita Suji, who we've seen recently in a last few chapters, who was part of pretty much Team Buddha when they were about to fight Team Loki and all that, shown to have a sword. I made a video on the second channel if you haven't checked it out, going over like all those fighters, all the 2 teams in breaking down, so I went into more detail for him. So now I'll go into all the other gods. So first up, I keep saying god, all the other humans who are going to be fighting. So first up we have Quinchi Huang, butchered that name, but let's go over who he is. So this dude was the first emperor who unified China during the 220 to 245 BC, around that range, around that era. And he also became China's first emperor when he was at the age of 28, after pretty much conquering all of China and unifying China in 221 BC, which is just insane to think about. He's based off a real person, and that is who he is, the first emperor of China. So very cool possible fighter that we're going to be having here. Up next we have King Leonidas, who was a warrior king of the Greek city of Sparta, and was pretty much considered one of the strongest kings, or one of the most powerful warriors of this time. He also, in many mythologies, and if he was a real person, however you look at it, in the Greek mythology, is considered a demigod, and that they stated that they were pretty much descendants of Heracles, or Hercules, however you want to say it, or whatever one you want to consider it to be, but was a descendant of that and was pretty much the new person to become a god, which was Leonidas. So very cool. Probably uses a spear, sword, anything along that range to be a leading fighter. Very cool to possibly see that in some time. Up next we have Nicola Tesla, who was an inventor from the 1800s who died in 1943. This is in our world, not mythology or anything like that. He was a Serbian/American inventor who is best known for his contribution to the design of the modern alternating current and pretty much the electricity supply system. So most likely going to be using electricity or his big brain energy to win the fight. His fight will most likely be very similar to how Jack the Ripper's fight went, being using, you know, his big brain energy to win the fight instead of his raw physical talent or anything like that around. Just, you know, big brain energy, and probably have some electric or power that he'll most likely be using, with me considering his fight going up against Susanoo, if, you know, Susanoo Ragnarok is shown to be the god of storms during this, has the power of lightning. Nicola uses the lightning against him or something like that, so that'll be very cool to see. Up next we have Gregory Rasputin. I've already made a full video on this channel going over Rasputin, everything about him. My personally most hyped fighter to see in this manga, so if you want to check that out, just go there. I'll just go quickly some, basic information. So Rasputin, based in Russia, was considered a Russian faith healing. He pretty much baited his way into the kingdom there and did all this other shit. Was considered immortal in many recordings and everything like that, not being able to die and being a godly healer and stuff like that. So that's based on. If you want more detail, check out my full video I made about him on that. And now on to the next person. Up next we have Nostradamus, who was around during the 1500s and was pretty much known for, or known today as, known in history, everything as, for his book that he pretty much wrote, which was able to predict multiple future events that came much later from this book, which gives his famous ability and everything that's cool about him. So being able to predict, having immense big brain energy as well, and the freakiness of being able to predict stuff that comes so many years later, hundreds of years later, some of the stuff, which is just absolutely insane. So that's Nostradamus. If that's how you say his name, I don't even know, but that's pretty much everything that there really is about him, so that's very cool. Up next we have someone by the name of Simo Hawa, I believe is how you say it, something like that, who was a Finnish military sniper and was believed to have killed over 500 men during the 1939 to 1940 Winter War, and was considered the person with the highest number of sniper kills in any major war. So most likely in Record of Ragnarok, going to be having a sniper and going to be trick shooting off buildings, 1080, 360, insane insta swaps into destroying a god's head. So that's most likely what we're going to get. So a Finnish world-renowned sniper, considered one of the greatest snipers of all time, if not the greatest sniper of all time. So it's very interesting to see and very cool. So that's who we have here. And then the last one for today's video, we have Sakata Kin Toki, I believe, who was also known as Kintaro in many elements. He comes from Japanese folklore, was considered a child with superhuman strength, who was later raised in the mountains. He was able to save people, became a popular figure, and was considered great for his bravery and how strong he was. So not really much is known. He's shown throughout many other anime and manga a lot. So there's many other elements he could come from that. I'd love to hear your predictions, what his power will be throughout throughout Record of Ragnarok, I mean. So wait to see that. So that's the 13 humans and 13 gods that will be fighting during Record of Ragnarok that haven't fought or already have fought. So very cool, very cool. Hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, subscribe, join the Discord, all that good shit. And that's it, guys. Peace.